The NFL playoffs continue, and right now the best team appears to be us. 4 straight winning weeks on Beat the Book. Let's make it 5. Welcome to Beat the Book, presented by the Turf Club at Northern Quest Resort and Casino. I'm your host, Keith Osso, and yes, 4 straight winning weeks. That includes going a perfect 4-0 last week, and I think that deserves one of these.
Woo! I am awesome!
Admittedly, it's going to be a lot tougher this week. The board is pretty scary on all 4 games, as you could legitimately see all 4 underdogs win outright this weekend, or you could see a lot of what we saw last week in the bloodbaths of the playoff football. I expect games to be tighter. The lines certainly reflect that. Only 1 game over 4 points right now, and that's Green Bay at home against San Francisco. So we're going to have our picks for the week coming up a little bit later, but we're really going to hash through these games this week with our host, Tommy Giles, hosts a 3-hour weekly gambling show on NBC Sports Boston. You may remember him working at KXLY in the past. We really get into these games. We don't always agree. In fact, we massively disagree on the Chiefs against the Bills. Let's get into this. Tommy, tell me about how you got involved in sports gambling. I know it's been around a long time. You've been all over the country, different places where it's allowed, not allowed, in the whispers or out in the public. Like, what's your kind of background in putting a little bit more fun on your games that you're watching?
Yeah, so like 3 or 4 years ago, we were doing a 3-hour show every night from 9 p.m. till midnight, which is kind of a long time to be doing a television show. And, night after night, it can kind of, I don't know, it can wear on you a little bit. So I need a little excitement in my life. It was March Madness, I think, 4 years ago when I first started getting into it, and signed up with a nice offshore account. Not afraid to say it, whatever. It's not legal in Massachusetts. We like to drag our feet with everything. So, yeah, signed up with a nice offshore account. And it was great because in the middle of those 3-hour shows, like I'd have my eye on a game that was starting at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And it just energized me. It energized me through it. And I kind of became the guy in the newsroom who looked a little like a degenerate. But, at least, hey, that guy's having fun. Or he's having a really bad day. That sometimes happens too. But, he's having fun. I don't know why he's betting on Northern Kentucky against Morehead State. But here we are. And, man, feel that energy. Feel that energy coming from it. So that's kind of how I got into it. And I enjoy it. But there are limits to it. That's kind of the important thing is that you realize in the long run, you're probably not going to be that profitable at this. So it's all about kind of deciding how much you want to contribute to the entertainment of it.
And it does. And we've talked about this with other guests. Like, it could be a 30-point game in a college basketball game with a minute left, and you can't turn it off because you've got 28 as your line. You can live and die on every play of a blowout game, but it makes it more fun, right?
Absolutely. There was a Celtics game last Friday. They were getting crushed by the Sixers. They were down by like 20 points in the first quarter. And I saw the live line was at 13.5. And I said, you know what, NBA, it'll make a little run here. Final minute of the game, they're somehow scratching and clawing around that mark. And Bruno Fernando, who I don't think he'd ever scored a point for the Celtics, somehow is in the game because it's they're trying to come back, but they got no chance. Final possession, somehow puts it. I don't think the ball got above the rim and somehow made this 8-footer. And because I had a few people in on it, we just went nuts. We went nuts in the middle of the newsroom. It was Bruno Fernando. I was like, maybe I should buy his jersey. Unfortunately, the winnings weren't going to cover that, and I don't think it exists anyways. But still, that was a fun moment. It was like I'm going to be engaged. I'm going to watch this entire game.
Well, there's only one game this week that's over 3.5. I mean, there's 4 games that's 3.5 or less in all of them, except San Francisco, Green Bay, 6 points. It's kind of funny because I feel like you're getting a gift there because I think that number is going to get smaller as the week goes on because you're going to see Warner and Bosa, I think, both get cleared, and that makes a huge difference on that defensive line and pass rush for San Francisco. But San Francisco can run the ball, and the Packers can't seem to stop the run right now. And that's the only way that San Francisco can win that game is if they can run the football. So it seems that 6 points might be a bit of a trap, but it also seems that number is probably going to get lower. So I took them at 6 when I could lock it in. I did. But you're also talking about playing in Green Bay. It's going to be at 1 degree and snowing. But what we saw last week, did Buffalo have a hard time scoring when it was cold? No. So good teams can score whatever the temperature is, right?
And here's the thing, too. Even against Dallas, who made some mistakes, they still put up 17 points against the 49ers. I actually look towards the over in this game, which is right now at 47. Green Bay has been crushing the over lately. I think it's 6 straight for the over for the Packers. And then you look at the 49ers, and it's 4-2 over their last 6. I kind of like the over, just despite what you brought up about the elements there. I feel like the elements early in the season are kind of maybe overcorrected a little bit, but right now I feel like 47 is a good number there. That's one where I say, okay, I don't really love the dead number of 5.5. It's kind of between things, to your point, and it could move a point or two in each, not in each direction, but a point in both directions. So I don't know. 47 for me right now. If I'm leaning towards the over at the play in that game.
Well, here's what will back you up. Green Bay struggles against the run. San Francisco's one of the top 5 rushing offenses in the league. Green Bay has Aaron Rodgers and Adams, and San Francisco's defensive backfield is you and I right now. So I like your over for those reasons. I think both teams are going to be able to move the football. I think because of that, I like my 6, but that over is very tempting as well. My first reaction, I'll be honest, was it's going to be really cold. I'll take the under. But that didn't seem to have an issue last week, and it's not like Green Bay is not used to playing in weather, right?
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is you got to wonder, there's probably already a few points baked into that total, right? So that total is probably something like maybe 50, 51, somewhere up there. So I think because of the weather, it's been bet down to 47. So you got to wonder, okay, when's the best time to jump on the over? Is it going to continue to go down? So I think it opened at 48.5. I had written down here, but it opened at 48.5. So it's already gone down a 1.5. Maybe it goes down a little bit, but I feel like 47 might be it.
I did my picks yesterday, and I do them individual games. I don't look at all 3 picks are this way. But when I got done, I looked back and I picked 3 underdogs to cover. It's a weekend that you could literally see all 4 underdogs win the game straight up. I mean, Cincy can throw the ball. Tennessee can't really stop that right now. The run defense for Cincinnati over the season was pretty good. So even if Henry comes back, you like the edge to the offense of Cincinnati. I think they got a little bit of relief after winning last week. You could definitely see the Rams go into Tampa and win if Matthew Stafford takes care of the football. They're not going to be able to run the ball like they did last week. They're going to have to throw it. But they certainly have the weapons to throw. You could totally see San Francisco go into Green Bay and win just because of the way that the style that they play. Aaron Rodgers is 0-3 against San Francisco in his career in the playoffs. What kind of carryover that has, I don't think any, but it's a number that you can look at to make your point. And does anybody think the Bills can't beat Kansas City? I mean, to me, that's just a coin flip game. That's what side of the over-under are you going to go? I took the Bills. I think the Bills are going to win. I think that I only get a 1.5, which is dangerous. But I think the Bills, they specifically were built to beat Kansas City. What do you think?
They were.
Huh?
Well, they were. That was greatly contested after Week 13 when the Patriots beat them 14-10, and everyone around here was laughing in their faces, saying how the Bills are already dead. Let me tell you, that changed quickly after the last 2 meetings. I think, and I hate going this route because I usually like to say, all right, well, this is an investment. Be smart about it.
Right.
So usually the unders are kind of, well, that's the smarter play because people just blindly bet the over because it's more fun. I think I'd probably go for the over in this one as well. I mean, these two teams have been putting up points like crazy. And I don't think either defense is really that strong. I think that the idea that the Bills defense has been giving up, you look at their stats, their schedule really wasn't that strong.
Right.
So, and I think, especially down the stretch there, with Mac Jones twice, they lost to Tampa Bay in overtime, and then they had a couple of cupcakes baked in there as well. So I actually like the over. Now it's down to 53.5, and it's come down a point. I think you could easily see 54 points between those two teams. And Kansas City, which is usually like this time of year, frigid, maybe some wind, all that. Right now it looks like it's going to be like mid-30s, maybe gets down to 32. Doesn't look bad. I think that this is actually a game where you should play the fun bet, which is the over.
Well, and I love the weather take for home field advantage. The only time I think that matters is if you're playing a dome team. I don't think, I mean, is Buffalo not used to playing in cold? Like, come on. Like, this is going to be a heat wave compared to last week. Is San Francisco not used to the cold? San Francisco is cold in July. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no summer in San Francisco. It's always cold, and they usually get the wind and the fog, and it's heavy air. They're going to be happy to be playing in the cold. Like, unless it's a dome team, I don't think the weather is a home field advantage anymore.
Yeah, the other thing too is it's not so much about the cold, and I think bitter cold changes things, but like Josh Allen struggles in the elements. So if there's wind, if there's precipitation, like even they had a couple games at the end of the season, like one of them against Atlanta, and they were just highly inefficient. And it's just, I swear, watching on Red Zone, Buffalo had the ball goal to go for like an hour, a couple different times in that game. It just kept getting penalties, and they kept moving the ball. And how many chances do you need to put the ball in the end zone?
Right.
So precipitation, I think, does affect him a little bit. But yeah, no, I look at that game. So I'm interested. You like Buffalo?
I do.
I mean, you could even go a little bit on the money line there,
right,
since it's only 1.5. We'll sprinkle.
Yeah.
Kansas City, to me, they look strong kind of as they started their whatever it became, like 7-game winning streak.
Right.
And then Pittsburgh are really those 2 wins at the end of the year where like the Steelers stink though, right? We do realize like the Steelers are back.
Terrible.
Like I don't know how they limped into the playoffs, but they did.
I told you last week I would take Kansas City at 20. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was right.
I took them at 13.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah. I got 12.5. I was like, the easy bet.
Your take on Rams Bucks, because
boy, that's tough.
I don't know how often you're touting this the way you used to, but Tom Brady, give me one word for Tom Brady.
America.
There it is. I knew it was still there. I knew it was still in you. So, I mean, but he's going up against your guy Cooper Kupp in this situation. It'll be a little tough one. Where are you leaning?
I'm leaning toward the Rams. I took the Rams as my futures bet to make for a non-1 seed before the playoffs started, because, yes, Matthew Stafford had some real issues down the stretch, and there was a lot of pressure on him because he hadn't won a playoff game and all that kind of stuff. But it was like, okay, and then Cam Akers, I think, changes the game for them. I mean, it's not just that they have another running back to go to, it's his attitude. Now, they're not going to run the ball successfully, you wouldn't think, against Tampa. Nobody does. But the fact that they can run it now with Michelle and with Akers. Now, you and I have talked before. Sonny Michel put up some numbers in the last, 6 weeks when Henderson was injured. But Sonny Michel is not a great running back. He's a plotter. No. He's a 3-yard and cloud of dust kind of guy. And if that dude's running for 100 yards, wait till Akers and Henderson are healthy, which is starting to be a thing. So I'm going to take, and here's the other thing. Yes, you have Tom Brady. You cannot discount that. You cannot, if you bet against Tom Brady, you're going to lose over the grand scheme of his career. You're going to win games here and there, but betting against Tom Brady in the postseason is not a good investment strategy. But no Antonio Brown, no Godwin, and you got Ramsey who can cover Evans. To me, that's if Gronkowski doesn't have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, how does Tampa put up a bunch of points?
It begins and it ends right there for me. That's it. I just, Matthew Stafford won a playoff game. Great. He won a playoff game. Okay, he got over the hump. Now he's got to go into Tampa Bay, and he's got to compose himself and try to do it again with Brady on the other side. I'm not just blindly betting Tom Brady in this situation. I'm mostly looking at it as I don't think Matthew Stafford can play a clean football game. He did last week, but there were also times against the Cardinals where I thought that the Rams had trouble moving the ball, which kind of surprised me. Like, they could have put that game away in the first half, even though they kind of did. Kyler Murray doesn't throw that pick six, though. That's more of a rock fight than it needed to be. There were a few. Were there 3 drives in a row that the Rams punted? I think in the second quarter, something like that. So
they went conservative, and it got them out of their rhythm for sure.
Rhythm, yeah. I look at this line, and if you can get Tampa Bay down to 2.5, which it seems like it's trending that way, probably is in some places right now. I like Tampa Bay 2.5. I want it inside a field goal, because where I'm seeing it right now, it's sitting at 3, and it's got to move one way or another. But it's a tough one. it comes down to the quarterback for me.
And I can't argue against that. I cannot argue against that. As you know, I'm a big Brady believer, and like I said, it's not a good investment strategy to bet against them in the postseason. I got a feeling on this one, man. I think the Rams. I think the Rams are scary right now, and if you're a Rams fan, they're scary for the wrong reason because of what you just said. What's Matthew Stafford going to do? Any chance him winning that playoff game relaxes him? I mean,
Matthew Stafford?
Yeah. Any chance that he's like, okay, everybody will shut up now. I won a playoff game. I just go play football. And if that does happen, they're going to win.
I don't see how it can relax you though, because you just beat the Cardinals, who you knew you could beat. And I understand you beat the Bucs early in the season, but now you got to go to Tampa on a short week, and you got to keep up with Tom Brady on the other side. Also, the defending champs. Here's the other one thing that worries me about the Rams. Week 18 was not a must win, but you were playing for the division. Like if the Cardinals don't inexplicably lose to the Seahawks, the Rams are playing for the division title in a home playoff game, and they've got the ball, so they've got the lead. Jimmy Garoppolo's got to go 90 plus yards, and they just let Garoppolo with half of a thumb drive down there and score a touchdown on him, and then win the game in overtime. So that's kind of, I get the Rams defense, but man, that scared me a little bit that they're able to let San Francisco win that game.
Quickly, 4 games. What's the most confident pick you have this week?
The most confident pick I have this week would probably be the Tampa 2.5. Otherwise, I like the over in that Green Bay San Francisco game right now, that 47 that it sits at, and I'm leaning over 53.5 Kansas City Buffalo. Cincinnati Tennessee is the one that I don't really have much of a feel for.
I'm embarrassed and a little hurt that I didn't dissuade you even a little bit on the Tampa Bay win.
This is the fun of it, man. See, we don't even have to go. I don't have to contact my bookie this week. We can just do this, offline. We can just ourselves,
I'll put it on the board with you. I'll take the Rams plus 2.5.
Okay.
All right. It's going to be dinner soon. I don't know when the hell we're going to see each other, but we'll figure it out.
You can Zoom dinners, right? Isn't that how people dated for a little while during the pandemic?
I'll order you a pizza, and I'll have a pizza here, or something. We'll figure it out. So
yeah.
Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate your time, bud.
You got it, man.
So my picks for the week, obviously, going with the Bills on the road. I got a 1.5. To be completely honest with you, if I'm betting this game, I'm taking the money line just to give me a little bit better odds. I think the Bills are actually going to win this game. It's super scary to pick against the Chiefs at Arrowhead in the playoffs. I just have a feeling about this Bills team, the way that they've been playing down the stretch. After they kind of got woke up a little bit near the end of the season, they snuck in, I believe, into a higher seed. Kind of quiet, under the radar, up in the Northeast. I like the Bills to win this game. I think it's going to be a great football game. But if it's a 1.5, again, I'm just going to take the money line on this one. But I will take the 1.5 for the purposes of our picking. The other pick, San Francisco on the road at Green Bay. I got on this early in the week when it was a 6-point spread. I took San Francisco and took the 6 points simply because I believe San Francisco can run the football with any team in football. And if you're going to beat Green Bay's defense, you can beat them with the run. So I think it's a favorable matchup for the style of game that San Francisco wants to play. They want to control the clock. They want to run the football. They want to keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. I think they can actually do that, certainly to be able to stay within about a touchdown. So 6 points, I like that on the road, the biggest line of the week. And the fact that this was before Warner and Bosa both kind of got started toward the trend of playing this week. So I believe that I got a nice value pick at 6 points. I think that pass rush is going to be greatly improved with both those guys as they appear that they're going to play in this football game. So I'll take San Francisco in the 6 points on the road, and I'm taking another. So basically I'm taking 3 underdogs this week. I'm taking Cincinnati 3.5 on the road against Tennessee. I know Derrick Henry's back, and I know the Cincinnati defensive front is pretty banged up. That's bad news for Cincinnati. I guess I'm just not buying into Derrick Henry carrying the ball 25 times in this football game, and that's what makes Derrick Henry Derrick Henry. It's not carries 1 through 10. It's carries 15 to 30 was where he really makes his hay because people flat out get tired of tackling Derrick Henry. I just can't see them giving him the ball 25 times. First game back after an injury that looked like it was going to end his season. They're probably going to take it a little easy on him. And if they're able to beat Cincinnati, the further into the playoffs they go, the healthier he gets, the stronger he gets. That's when I think you start to see more of the normal Derrick Henry workload. On the flip side, Cincinnati against a pass defense that's struggling a little bit. Joe Burrow's on fire right now. Nobody seems to be able to cover Jamar Chase. I'll take Cincinnati's high-flying offense to be able to stay within a field goal of Tennessee on the road. In fact, I have actually like them as an upset pick here. I think I'm not alone here. I think Tennessee is one of those teams that people are thinking, how are they a number one seed? They're good, but they don't seem to be a number one seed good. Now, again, doing these things can really set us up for failure, and this could go freezing cold takes and all that stuff, but I like Cincy on the road to stay within 3.5, San Francisco on the road to stay within 6, and Buffalo on the road to cover 1.5. I actually like them straight up, as you heard in our interview argument/side bet with Tommy Giles today. Everybody enjoy the football games. By the time we talk next week, we're going to have 4 teams left with 2 teams getting ready to play in the Super Bowl the following week. It's going to be an awesome weekend of football. Enjoy the games, and as always, good luck, everybody.